Hi, I'm Fury. Welcome to Lake Ravenhall.
And I'm Michael Forrest, and you may recognize Fury and I from our work in Altspace. Together we make up Ravenhall Events, and we put on a lot of events in and around Altspace. And we thought it'd be neat to put on a video series where we could showcase some of our work and some of the worlds that we've been a part of, some of the projects that we've been a part of, and some of the things that we've done in Altspace, and make it available to a wider audience. So welcome to Altspace, and welcome to Lake Ravenhall.
Yeah, so we're going to take you on a little tour around the lake and hope you enjoy. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, let's head out, shall we?
Mm.
So Fury, this was one of your first worlds, right?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was my first world. It was it's a lot of fun to make. It took me a long time too, though.
Yeah, how long did it
Um,
take?
mm, about two 2 months, about 2 months. But I wasn't working on it every day. I'm not a terribly extroverted person by nature, and although this is a social platform, I found it a really great way to ease my way into being in alt space, having something to do like building. I I enjoy an activity, and I enjoy building, and I enjoy designing. So this was sort of a way to be in alt space and acclimate my own pace.
I once heard a world builder in Allspace refer to building worlds as a kind of meditation. Did you find it to be that way?
Oh yes, absolutely. It was very calm, very peaceful. There's something about kit building with kits specifically, because these aren't items that you've designed from scratch. These are items that you're trying to fit together just so in a way that kind of comes close to the vision that you have in your head. So it's a little bit like exercise in patience, and you have to be very patient, but it's also a really great way to learn the controls and what's possible. And I'm really, really glad that I started out working with other people's kits as opposed to working with my own designs in Unity, because it really gave me a better idea of the scope of what is possible
Sure.
before I
Yeah.
went off the deep end. So,
Yeah. Well, the very deep end, as we're going to show uh, one of our next
yes,
segments here. But, and you built all this on an Oculus Go, correct?
I did. I absolutely
That's right.
did.
Wonderful.
Well, yeah. Actually, big props to all the builders who make kits available to world builders. Jimmy's responsible for a lot of the kit items that are in this world. Uh, Shout out to Tommy for the lake water, which I don't think he
And
intended
Near for
as
the
lake
cloud.
water. Mira for the clouds and the sound. There's a
Ben,
sound here
Ben
from
for the
Mira.
fire.
Ben for the
Yeah.
fire. Yeah.
Yeah, and a
This
lot of
is.
talent went into this, but I like to see, especially with kits, how people come up with different ways of using things as like say coming up for innovations in ways that the ones who actually made the kits didn't intend, like when you
Isn't
make
that fun?
a picture frame into a wall, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Speaking of
totally. Well,
which, this
that's yeah.
this fire bin, this is a bowl of some kind. What do you recall that I missed?
Well, this was actually like a afterthought. This was one of the last things that went into the world. There's some whole dead trees in here, and I think we found this bowl maybe in one of the samurai kits that
Cool.
Jimmy made available.
Very cool.
But the whole genesis for this world was this concept, because I had looked at a lot of worlds, in my travels. I like to look and see what other people are doing, and I hadn't really seen water being done the way that I envision water being done. And because of the glass objects in Tommy's kit, I said, "Oh, I think I can build a world around this."
Wow.
So, and
Does Tommy know
I think,
that he inspired you to build a world? I mean, we should tell him.
well,
Tommy,
maybe, maybe,
if you're watching, man,
maybe if he sees
just
this
saying.
video. But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, so basically that was the whole thing. I decided to make layers of glass that sort of emulated what I had in my mind about the light transitions as you move through water. So it's like green and purple and blue, and I measured it. So actually, right now you're not at 0 on the y-axis. You start out at 40 and you drop down. So there's everything else was an afterthought.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
great. So you basically you started with the layers and you built around that.
that's right. That's right. I
Oh,
wanted to
excellent.
make a lake.
Well, why don't we give everybody a look around and we'll stop off at some key points that are part of some of your favorites. One of the things I love about this place is no two visits are the same. you can actually go off in any direction and have a completely different experience. That being said, right now we have three choices. We can go in the direction of Fury, we can go over this bridge toward the center island, or we can head off in my direction, and you'll see some of the wonderful things that are here. Where would you like to see?
Or we could dive straight to the bottom of the lake. We have options.
So you're telling me to go jump in a lake. That's
I'm telling everyone to go jump in a lake, for the record. Yeah.
That's not going to get us many subscribers. By the way, if you like this video, please like, subscribe, smash that bell button, and we would be very appreciative of that. That being said, where would you like to explore next, Barry?
Oh gosh, when people come here and for the first time and I'm guiding them personally around, I say, well, let's just start walking this way. But
Okay.
So let's head on over to the
Let's start
Cherry
walking
Tree
this way.
Pavilion. The Cherry Tree Pavilion. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll see you there.
Okay. Hmm.
It's always so relaxing here. This is actually one of my favorite parts of the lake. You can see sunlight streaming down through the water. You can see, fairly low down into it. And what were some of the inspirations for this particular area? Because the thing about the lake actually is every part of it is a little bit different. Each section has its own unique style. It's a bunch of worlds within worlds. It's actually how I would explain it. And how did you come up with this part?
Well, it's nice to hear you say that this is one of your favorite spots too, and I think it resonates that, like, even though I put a lot of time and attention to every part of the lake, this actually probably is my favorite spot. Ultimately, I don't know how that ended up being that way, but okay, so one thing, the lake itself, because of the shape of the glass pieces that I was using to replicate glass water, or lake water, they're square. So the lake was square, and what lake in nature is square, right? So I did my best to try and make it a little less square. So over here we have a pool of sorts. It's like a side pool. And when I was working on everything, I didn't know exactly how this corner was going to take shape, but I knew it was my favorite corner because over here I wanted to make a second way down into the lake. So you can actually go down in the water and come out in the main body over here, or vice versa. There are caves in each corner of the lake.
The caves are awesome because you have like sunlight streaming down. We almost forgot to mention the most important
That was
part.
you. That was your inspiration. You said that to me.
Oh,
You said,
thanks.
sunbeams. Yeah.
We forgot to mention the most important, one of the most important things is toward the end, Fury started thinking about what it would be like to have people here. And so she devised a treasure hunt. So hidden all over the lake is and there's also a sign at the cave entrance when you first arrive in the world, where there's a list of different animals you can search for. And it's not like a contest or anything. It's just something you can do for fun in your own time. There's also firework boxes to signal your friends if you get separated, because it is a very, even by Altspace standards, this is an extremely large world. There's so much detail everywhere you look.
Well, like I said,
and I love how you took
a lot of time on it.
Field of view. Yeah.
Oh, everything's field of view. Like, and the 11 animals that are placed around the lake. I feel like a lot of people have a tendency to build, but without purpose. And although it's beautiful, there's no reason to stay. Not really. So I wanted to create some kind of an activity, and hopefully people find it fun. I don't know. But over here, this is the only tree that I used in the entire place that I knew I absolutely wanted to use, but it had that polyed out kind of not realistic thing that I tend to avoid because I just don't care for the aesthetic myself. Every other tree in here moves, has some sort of realism to it. So the way I compensated for that was I used snow effect to create falling cherry blossoms. So
Well, cherry blossoms. All this time I thought these were purple sugar cubes. That's why it's my favorite place. I sit here with a cup of coffee, and the sugar gets added in automatically. I just have to sit there and let the purple sugar cubes fill my cup, and then sit here and taste
or
the
purple
Altspace
sugar cubes.
sweetness.
Maybe that's what it is. I don't know.
So everybody, this is this comes out the other side of the bridge, and then we have another bridge, kind of like a footbridge, and I like the way you use different levels, and the way it opens up the larger world when you cross over it. So when you get to the top of this bridge, this great big beautiful expanse opens up in front of you, and you can see the island on one side, and you can see, although I don't think it's in a shot now, you can see this Japanese style tea house off to the side.
Mm.
It's very nice. And you actually, another thing, Jerry put a lot of effort into how the spaces transition. So it's a space and a world that's meant to be walked through. So it really focuses a lot of attention on that sense of movement. Wouldn't you agree?
It does. It does. It absolutely does. Because, I mean, first of all, my personal aesthetic is that I don't love straight lines. I don't love wide open fields of view. And builder's tip, neither does Altspace. Um,
Yes.
so if you can kind of take field of view into account, if you're like me, you don't need a wide open expanse. You can use that to your advantage for frame rate, reducing your frame rate. Um, you know, because this world is huge. Fine, it's huge, and there are way more kits and events recommended. Uh, but it still works, and it works
So
seamlessly
that's
with the
the
number of
thing.
people in it. Yeah,
You're able to get away with a whole lot more kits if you take field of view into account. So if you're building
that's
in
right.
all space, always take into account how many objects are visible at one time. Because by taking that into account, you'll be able to get away with a lot more detail. Because like right now, we can't see through this rock, so our headsets don't have to worry about drawing anything that's past this rock, as an
That's
example.
right.
Do you want to
That's right.
proceed
I
to
mean,
another
what?
point?
Yeah,
Oh, go
sure.
ahead.
I was just going to add one thing. One exception to that
Yeah,
is
of course.
particle effects, because when you use particle effects, they can always be factored into your frame rate. But
First, I learned they're
generally
not
speaking,
sugar cubes, and now you're telling me they're just particle effects.
there's
Didn't
sugar
realize this
cubes.
part would be
There's
so,
sugar
be
cubes.
so
I'm
easy.
sorry. I'm sorry.
Okay. All right, everybody. Well, let's head on to the next stop. I guess that would be the tea house area.
Sure.
All right. We'll meet you there. Hey,
Hi,
Terry.
Mike.
I love this spot. It's really great. Particularly love the bamboo shoots that you have here. And this little tea house that you got going on. And this is it's a wonderful transition because like each space has a different flavor to it. And you'll see there are like points where the spaces overlap slightly, and this is one of those places. Yeah, these are all from the kit built worlds. Are these
Yeah,
all
that's
from
right.
kits?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Everything. Well, that's a point of pride for Lake Ravenhall. Everything here has come from kits, none of which were built by me or you.
Mm-hmm.
This is just all kits that were publicly made available and featured by Altspace users just like you. And
Yeah.
so
Awesome.
the tea house, although it is not terribly convenient to go inside, it's nice. It has an ambiance to it, and the ultimate function of the tea house, like several other points around the lake, is meant to be as a sort of a vessel for a hub. The lake was conceived of, believe it or not, as a hub. So as you travel
Wow.
around the lake, it would be great if, and I really want to see this one day, if there was, a portal here and a portal here and a portal here. But right now we have one portal, one very significant portal, which goes to the Ravenhall Flight Academy, and you take off using a air
Transport.
transport.
Yes, a transport vehicle, not a helicopter, as Fury sometimes likes to call it. But yeah.
But this is as you pointed out, Michael, the everything in this world is made with kit items, and anybody can build a kit world. Anybody can. All you need to do is make sure that you opt into the world's beta program. And there was one other step. What was that?
Yes, you want to also enable the early access program that'll give you access to all of these wonderful kits. And if you are one of the generous members of the community that provides kits to kit builders in Altspace, I'd like to emphasize the importance of actual functioning doors. Doors would be a great addition to
Oh,
bringing kits in for more builders to play with. But really, I mean, the generosity of this community is just outstanding. They've really made some really terrific items available to build with. You can really do a lot here in Altspace.
you
And
can.
let's move on to the next section, shall we?
Yeah, sure.
Wow. Look at this view. And get
It's
all,
just a virtual view, right?
it's still really beautiful. You know, how did you, when you were starting to build this world, how did you like approach the scale? Because it's so vast to think that you went at it like without a plan. is kind of hard to believe because it's just the scale of it. It's so realistic.
That's such a really good question. It really is. Actually, you're the one who inspired that to begin with, because when you when you first start building, you have to get acclimated to using the controls. You realize X, Y, Z. This does that, right? Okay, fine.
And sometimes why?
And sometimes why? Yeah. Um, but the thing with that is that it's instinctive, and it's also useful to just grab an object and position it with your hand. That's fine. But you were the one who first showed me about how to use precision control using the numbers, and that was
Yeah, well, on the go, you have to kind of just get close enough, and then use numbers really have to take care of the rest.
Yeah, that's right. So then you start forming these patterns in your mind. Basic geometry, four cardinal points. It's not north, south, east, and west. It's negative x, x. Z, negative
So you,
z,
you
and
had
then
all,
of
you
course.
had all these planes stacked high. Did you have any kind of a frame to work from? I mean, how did you move around like that? Was it all just floating
Yeah,
in the air?
actually, we had discovered that early on, that there is a sort of a natural boundary in each one of these worlds when you first make blank world, right? You realize that the grid in front of you, if you have a grid world, it's 20 by 20, but there's also an outer boundary, which is 120 by 120. And once you pass that outer boundary, you have to teleport to get back across it. So using that, at least for this frame, I thought, well, I don't want anything bigger than 120 by 120. And as you see, the outer wall around the entire lake is that exactly. So if you hit the outer wall, which is framed by what I like to refer to as a shell of mountains, which creates the illusion of it being much bigger than it actually
I
is,
remember
even
when
though
you
it
were
is large.
when you were
Yeah,
working on the world early on, you were referring to the outer part of it as a wrapper.
yeah, wrapper.
Yeah.
That's
Hmm,
it. That's
neat.
it. A wrapper or a shell. And it just kind of creates that idea of this is your boundary. And although you can see the mountains in the background, that's just the skybox. And you fill in the rest with your mind. It's a
It,
frame, it's a
I don't know how much
canvas.
of the camera is picking up of this, but it's a very layered effect, and that layered, it creates a sense of depth. It's really just, you know, it's hard to use. Did you see this in your mind when you started, or it just unfold? Did it just unfold the more you worked on it?
It did kind of unfold a bit more as I worked on it, but that basically has to do with kit items because you're not building something from scratch. You have to kind of work with the limitations that you're given. So, oh, this piece fits in here. It's like a very slow motion game of Tetris. Um, but so basically, I just worked from the four cardinal points, and I said, this is my canvas, 120 by 120, and I created scaffolds at each of the four cardinal points, and the other limiting factor was that I decided that the lake would be 40 units deep. I think a unit is approximately 1 meter, 1 foot. I,
Hmm.
I don't know if is that right? I think
No,
that's what I've been
think it's
working
about.
from.
I know in Unity one part of the grid is a meter, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. I'm not 100% on that though. I've recently been picking that up. But yeah, so I just did you like lay out pieces of the kits first just to get some idea of the contents? I mean, because when Fury first started with this, she was brand new to Altspace. I mean, this was her
Yeah.
first world, and pretty much within days of spawning, she disappeared. I mean, most people go directly to the campfire. Fury avoided all that. She came straight here. She went to that. She saw Fury's world, and this is before you had to enter the world's beta. So she sees Fury's world, and she jumps right in here. And from there, I didn't see
Yeah.
her for like 2 months practically. I just, would see her, in the real world going back and forth. But she was just in here all the time working on this. And I was just starting out with hosting and stuff. And I'd come in after my
Yeah.
shows and kind of unwind here and just watch her build. And it was just really amazing because every time I came in, there'd be a whole new section, of like rocks and mountains layered. And it looked like you had a plan right from the beginning,
I didn't. I
and I was just
didn't. The whole
curious how
thing
much of
was,
that. Mhm.
yeah, the whole thing was just puzzled together. It starts with one thing that you want, and I knew I wanted that lake water. I built the lake water effect. I realized it was a big square, and I said, where do I go from here? And then one thing was built on the next thing, built on the next thing, and that's about it. But every time I really got stuck, I came back around to, like, I don't think you know how much of yourself is in this world, Michael. Like this
No
wolf
idea. I
here,
would just start posting back then,
this,
and I don't know how many people know what goes in the making of an Altspace host, but it's a tremendous amount of pressure to come in here
it's
afterwards,
true.
and venting about my experiences, and
It's true.
it actually just became a great place to unwind, and this place is always going to be very special for that. Now we're going to
But
be
this
giving
wolf,
everybody a video walkthrough of the larger area. It's probably going to take a bit to get through because again, I don't know how much the camera picks up with this, but the world is vast. I mean, it's going to take a
yeah.
good bit of time to get through it. As such, what's the next part that we'd like to check out, show everybody? Because we're going to highlight specific sections, and at the end, we're going to do like a walkthrough, so you can actually experience. If you're not in Altspace, if you're not a member of Altspace, you can experience what it would be like to walk through a world
Yeah.
like this, and try to imagine it, seeing it from a first-person perspective inside a VR headset, because you really do feel like you're here, and it really is. It's a remarkable work.
We'd like to kind of give you a preview of what it's like to walk around with your headset on, without your headset.
Exactly.
That's it. Come on in and join us.
For those that are not
But
lucky to be in Altspace. But
yeah,
where would you
that's
like?
right.
What part of the world would you like to check out next?
Well, the Central Island is usually a great spot. The one thing that I would really like to highlight is our teeny tiny little bridges, because we made these this was your idea.
Oh yeah, these are
We
great.
made these teeny tiny little bridges that go out over the expanse of the water. So you're 40 meters above the bottom of the lake. You can look straight down. It's clear water. And if you don't look straight down, you may just fall in, depending.
It's a long drop too at the bottom. Actually, that's one stop I would like to make at the very bottom. One night when we were sleeping, I left a small present at the bottom of the lake to startle her, and
You did.
she ended up laughing so hard about it that it had the opposite effect. She ended up keeping it, and it's a little surprise for later. But right now, you'd like to check out the Central Island.
Yeah, let's go.
All right, cool. We're standing here at the center island of Lake Ravenhall, and really gives you a good idea of the bridges that we were just talking about. Okay, can you tell me what part of what these were called in the kits? I think this is really funny, actually.
Yeah, well, I was looking for the perfect shape, and the perfect shape just so happened to be something called laundry. Maybe laundry 01.
Laundry.
It's meant to be,
I
yeah.
remembered it was called ropes. I didn't know that it was called laundry.
Well, it's meant to look like a clothesline that's hanging between two buildings, I think.
And at this scale, there's nothing like very clothes-like about them. If you look, they look very solid metal, like a sculpture.
Yeah. Well, that's more of that precision work that we were talking about a little bit before. You have to line them up by the numbers so that sometimes when objects overlap, you get a little bit of a flicker. So you have to go down to hundreds and sometimes thousands of a point to get it just so. So this took a little bit of doing, but I think
Wait,
it
so
worked out.
these are actually two objects together.
Yeah, sandwiched.
Oh wow!
Yeah.
You can't even see a
So
seam on it.
thank you. Thank you. That
Oh.
means it worked.
Perfectly joined. Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Good stuff. So where would you like to show us next?
Well, this bridge goes back to the entrance. This bridge goes to uh, the meadow. And this bridge goes to what I lovingly refer to as Coney Island, just because there's a rabbit on it.
I grew up
Inside
in
joke.
Brooklyn, so that name has a special meaning for me. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that actually Coney Island was, once led by rabbits.
Yeah,
True story.
yeah. I think it comes from the Dutch word for rabbit, but I digress. So normally when I bring people to the Central Island, the only thing to do is turn off flight and just go for a dive. So I guess that's where we're going. We're going down.
So I guess we'll jump off the edge. When we do the camera tour after, we'll make sure that they get a nice dive to experience that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
And don't be put
we'll
off
see
by
you
the
over in
icky
Coney Island.
green water. Coney Island, yes.
Hey everybody, we're standing in the part of Lake Ravenhall that's named after Coney Island, and put a rabbit here in honor of that. Now, did you place the rabbit before you had the idea for the scavenger hunt, where you can go through the world looking for different of the animated animals, and did like the animals start to appear before you had the idea for the scavenger hunt, or did you place them after you had the idea?
No, the animals definitely started to appear first, and this may have been, no, This was the second one. I was going to say this was the first animal. This was
I
the
think the
second
first was the
animal.
wolf up on the ridge there, right? No? Which was the first? Oh, that's right. As I
You
just
placed the
mentioned,
first animal.
the present that I left with Fury gave rise to a lot of things. We'll take a visit on there, and then we're going to give everybody an animated walkthrough of Lake Ravenhall. And this way they can get a real sense of what it feels like to be in here. So you want to go check out the present that I gave you?
Sure. Let's
And to
go.
all the husbands out there, this is a really great gift idea for your wife if you have an anniversary coming up, you know, and you're in VR with your spouse. This is really a great way to really show affection, I think. We'll go down and tell that story.
It
How's
beats
that
a
sound?
vacuum cleaner. Okay.
Well, there you have it, folks. You know, enjoy yourself. All right, so let's go take a look to the bottom of the lake, and we'll show you what's on over there. Hey everybody, welcome to the very bottom of Lake Ravenhall. Here down below, there's a stone tunnel that you can walk through. And one night, as Fury was working, and which finished out on on work for the night, I came in to see the work that she'd done. She asked me to come in and check some stuff out. And when I came to the bottom and I was looking around, I left this present for her. You know, and I mean, it's the gift that does everything, right? So, in the morning when Fury came in to continue the work, I heard her laughing and giggling. So I came in to join her, and I told her, of course, get rid of him. And she said, don't you dare, right? She said, we're keeping him. And since then, we've been calling him Sharky, and he's been a great addition. So if you ever find yourself in Altspace and you make it to Lake Ravenhall, come down and say hello. Give him a good pet. He likes that. And yeah, we'd like to thank you all for joining us today. We're going to close out with a video tour of the lake so you can experience it directly. And if you ever find yourself in Altspace, come check out Lake Ravenhall. It's a really great, relaxing, wonderful experience that we hope you'll enjoy. And, any words for the future builders out there?
Oh, just thanks again for joining us. I hope you enjoy the tour. Come visit us, and you know, I was always inspired by looking at other people's world, and I hope that the same is true of you. And feel free to explore the possibilities. World building is not beyond you. Thanks so much.
We'd also like to thank very much for all the kit builders that have made these tools available, and for also providing us a platform to grow. Fury and I have both enjoyed hosting events and building worlds in Altspace, and we hope you do too. And hope to come by and see us sometime. Thanks so much for enjoying really what's the first installment of Ravenhall Realms. We're going to go over some of the stuff that we've worked on. And, if you like our content, please like our videos, subscribe, and ring that bell. Thanks for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.